Hello everyone, welcome to Blood and Pixels. I have Bradley with me. I'm hoping you can hear him because I haven't added him to the game yet. Hello Brad. So if you can hear Brad and myself, just let us know. We are trying this for the first time. We're streaming it via the console, so unfortunately you're not going to be able to see us. That's something we're hoping to... yeah, it's just us two. We're hoping to be able to get this up and running with a setup where you might be able to see us at some point in the future, which would be pretty nice. Right. So I'm going to do a friends only. So I'm going to do an invite only. Although, if anybody else has Dungeons & Dragons Dark Alliance, I don't see a reason why you can't join. So, we thought we'd do something different this week, but still related to Blood and Song. This is the first in an occasional series that we're calling Blood and Pixels. Tentatively, yeah, exactly. Just an occasional series that we'll dip in and out of. But if it's by popular demand, then we may dig into it a little more. But it's Blood and Pixels is where we visit video games inspired by, or I suppose based on, Dungeons and Dragons and other sort of tabletop role-playing games. So the first one we're doing, yeah, there's plenty. And because my experience really with this sort of thing started with the video games and then blossomed into tabletop role-playing games. I don't know if it was the same for you, Bradley, while I'm getting you added to this. Oh, see, I know. I mean, I would say Pokemon cards were what I went headfirst into, but never played any of the others. I never played Magic the Gathering either. I still haven't. And there's a lot of... What did you do with your cards? Oh no. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, they got trashed. So we right. So I've invited you, Brad. I just wanted people to see the menu screen in the sort of party area. You see it? So this is Dark Alliance. There was a Dark Alliance game on the PS2, I believe, was it, or PS3? It was an old school Dark Alliance game, but that was a single player one, I think, or at least it was an offline one. Right. So this one, yeah, certainly this one's sort of encouraged for online play, which is why we were keen to get it. Johnny, myself, and Brad. So we all and Ryan, we all cracked on with it, didn't we? When we first got it, we played a couple of levels, and it was a lot of fun. I mean, we'll dig into it, I'm sure, that we're playing this today about its quality, but like a bad D&D game as well, Brad. I'm sure you know, like when you're playing a bad game with somebody, the people around you make it fun. Right, that's the key, isn't it? Really. So, like, if you're having, yeah, that's the hope. So with this game, we ended up having a lot of fun, even though the game's a bit janky, to say the least. We all together had a great time. But I've put it down for a couple of weeks because I think it came out about a month and a bit ago, and I have not yet picked it back up again. So I'm going to be horrendous at this. I'm not even sure where we were, Brad. I think we were. I'm scared. Let's go for the one that's just partially to the right of the one we just did, so... Well, let's go on sort of I'm sure the more we do this, people can vote for what difficulty they want to see us compete on. But so we're going to go for a mission called the Goblin Shard. A goblin named Han Boog claims to have found the shard and has taken a part of the Dwarven Valley where his horde is building him. Taken over part of the Dwarven Valley where they're building him a crystal tower. So let's try Act 1.
Goblins had begun constructing a tower to secure their foothold in Bruner's home, and had spread out from that stronghold into the Dwarven Valley. The first step to clear out the goblins was breaking into the goblin fort guarding the entrance to Rugrib's quarter. We would have to recover explosives to blow our way through their fortifications, and then take out the foreman and his Verbeeg enforcer.
Alright, so I'm going to go adventurer because it's just me and you, and and I've forgotten all the controls, so let's go for the lowest setting. So I'm playing Catty Bree, and Brad, what's your character's name?
Verbeeg are the worst.
Right. There's Drizzt, the elf, which Johnny has claimed. We're not allowed to play. He loves playing an elf, and he's the lead character in them. Yeah. So these are Dark Alliance is based on the R.A. Salvatore world, right? So he wrote all of the sort of most popular Dungeons and Dragons novels and sort of expanded the world quite a bit, didn't he? And I've never read any of them actually. Johnny's read quite a lot of them. I've never read any of them. I don't know if you've sort of gone into the expanded universe. Yeah. Well, next time we play this, hopefully, if there's demand for it, Johnny will jump in because but I know did he invent Icewind Dale, or did he definitely fleshed out Icewind Dale? I think that was his thing.
Right here! Where are you going with that? Put that over there! Move your sucker! Move your own sucker, Bofa shuck! Hey! Get that out! I said there! Not here! There! Tommy! Not there! There! Butternut! All right! Out of the way, grub! Move, boy! This is heavy! You're in my way, Boffa. Don't just stand there! Move it! Move it! It's not my fault, this They need that below gutter!
Meat's dropping from the sky, boys! Gob kebab. Still bloody. That's lunch!
What is it about goblins and orcs eating their own, man? Yeah. Looks like meat's back on the menu, boys. So, right, let me attack these barrels. So, also, as far as I'm aware, you'll only see my screen, but you'll see Brad there. We're hoping to get a set up next time where we can sort of see each other's screens, aren't we? Well, I got poisoned immediately, so that's not a great start. Oh, thanks. That's flop. Yeah, I know. Fire a thingy. Aim. Is there what's our sprint? Is it left stick? Ah, it is, yeah. So while we're getting our bearings, and I think this also applies, let's say, for the next game. So if anybody's listening to this, it's unlikely to go out. It's unlikely to be thrilling as a podcast, so it's unlikely to go out as a podcast. But if anyone's listening to this on YouTube or watching it after on Twitch, next time we'll answer your questions as well. But for this one, I'm hoping if there's anyone in the chat, if there's anyone who's got their chat open, Brad and I, as we go through this playthrough, we will both answer any of your questions, any of them. Just, I don't know how many people are watching, probably less than usual, because I know that Arian well, the world, and the characters are what bring most people to the channel. But if you're intrigued by some of these D&D video games, we want to keep you engaged. We want you to ask us any questions that you want in the Twitch chat. Any questions at all, Brad and I are obligated to answer them. But like some kind of what's the spell, Brad? Yeah, but like the spell, Brad, we're not obligated to tell the truth. We're just obligated to give an answer. Yeah, exactly. But I'm curious to see what sort of questions we get anyway. They don't have to be game related either. Oh, here we go. Although we will chat about the game later, they don't have to necessarily be game related. It can be about anything at all. Don't even have to be Dungeons and Dragons related. We sort of like the idea that the more we do of these, they're also sort of chances to ask us questions and get to know us a little more, or maybe even give us suggestions about what you think we could expand to in the whole sort of Blood and Song world. Yes, exactly. Well, that's... No, I know. Well, the Arian Well world, obviously created by Johnny, we're all really grateful. Oh, there's an awesome chest over here. I think it's like a gear chest. The awesome sort of Arian Well world that Johnny's been creating for us, that we pitch into as well, but it's his world that he has in his Earth Sims as well. That's only a fraction of Blood and Song. That's the Arian World part of Blood and Song, but there's lots of stuff to come. Some of you know Dan quite well, some of you who may be watching know Dan quite well, and you know that he's been DMing. Some of you probably introduced him to his first games. Oh, by the way, Brad, while I'm nattering away, I am actually going to die. I keep getting poisoned. I do have a heal as well, I think. But yeah, so some of the people watching, or will watch later, will have been there with Dan during his first games. And they know that now he's an accomplished DM in his own right, and he's been DMing possibly longer than I've been alive. I'm not sure about that. No, it's not that old. But longer than maybe Becky's been alive. Has been alive. Anyway. So... Oh yeah. You just seem so... She's just got the vigour of youth, Brad, that you don't have. You know, that's all. You have the old man Brad, isn't it? Yeah, exactly. So Dan, this is a little secret tidbit for anyone who actually is watching this, because I know it will be less than usual, so I'm interested in who picks this up. But Dan has been talking about a magic-inspired game, running a game for us in the Blood and Song world, but obviously not the Arian world. That is a little bit, I would say it's a little bit like Hellblazer, the graphic novel. Personally, I think it's probably a little bit like Buffy, although he might say otherwise, and a little bit like the Dresden Files. So that sort of magic realism. Part of me thinks it'd be a little bit like Devil May Cry. That's my sort of touchstone. I hope it'd be like that. Yeah, you know what I mean? That's my sort of touchstone of what I would like it to be like. But obviously Dan will tell us all how it's going to be when he's ready. Oh, do we drop them into a hole or something? So for anyone watching us play as well, this game is based on D&D 5e, although it's very loose, obviously, because it's an action game. But it does have the short rest mechanic that you just saw, so we had a choice to take a short rest, but I believe does it spawn the monsters again? No, it does something with loot rarity, isn't it? Right. So we've chosen to forego the short rest so that we can gain better loot, hopefully. For anyone that's just joined, we're playing Dungeons & Dragons Dark Alliance, while our illustrious DM and a handful of other people are on holiday. And it's the potential start of a new series called Blood and Pixels, where we answer your questions whilst at the same time playing sort of games that inspire Dungeons and Dragons or are inspired by Dungeons and Dragons. So my sort of foray into role playing was via video games, and then I sort of worked my way into backwards, if you like, into tabletop role playing games like Dungeons and Dragons. Is Brad's character there? Oh man, you didn't tell me you're fighting that bad boy. Hey, buddy. So if there's demand for more, we're happy to play more. I mean, we've been playing a bit of, what are some other games in this sort of vein, Brad? I mean, definitely Larian Studios Divinity games, they're inspired by Dungeons and Dragons, as opposed to this game, which is a Dungeons and Dragons game. Vermintide. The Warhammer one. Do you know what, Brad? I reckon we need to go back here just briefly and check out. I think there's a chest over here. Yeah, do you know what? Vermintide would be a lot of fun. I'm really looking forward to it. What's the sort of basic gameplay of Vermintide, the Warhammer one? Right. Yeah, that'd be cool. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, so we were talking earlier on about how sort of Magic the Gathering is something that I haven't quite encountered yet in my foray into nerddom. Wow, I thought it was a double jump for a second. Don't worry about that. Just fell off. Don't tell anyone. Brad will never know. We're playing on the easiest difficulty because I haven't checked the controls before I play. So just a reminder, we will check the chat periodically and we'll answer any of your questions that come into the chat. Doesn't matter what they are, doesn't matter what they're about, we will answer them. We are contractually obligated to answer them. I haven't told Bradley about that. But we're not... yeah, exactly. But we're not contractually obligated to tell the truth. Hi, Jim Bob. Yeah, thanks for joining us, mate. No, so we've got a one-shot for you next week. That'll be very exciting. And the reason why it's exciting is because it's not been planned yet. That's why it's exciting. We don't know who's doing it. But we will have that for you next week. But we thought this week we'd start a new series where we try and play some games related to Dungeons & Dragons and take any questions. Yeah, you just got us, I'm afraid. But in recompense for just having us and this questionable but loving video game, is that Bradley and I will answer any questions that anybody gives us in the chat. If we're not able to answer them this time, we'll answer them in the next Blood and Pixels live stream that we do. We're hoping to do it at a different time as well, so obviously we're not going to conflict with the proper Blood and Song Aryan World campaign. But maybe there's another date and time that we can make this a bit more of a regular series. Oh, poison. Yeah, yeah, Jim Bob's right. He's going, at least Brad won't get any bad rolls this time. Yeah. If anything, as you can see, yeah, it looks like I'm the one who's about to die, to be honest. Yeah, from poison. So yeah, we're happy to take requests as well for games as we incorporate them in. Oh man, that's cool. We chose this one because it's Dungeons and Dragons related, obviously. I don't know if anyone in the chat's actually played this one, but it's quite an interesting one, isn't it? Because it first came out quite buggy, got a lot of bad press. Well, I mean, less patches than some other games, really, but yeah, the game came out quite buggy, and sort of quite lacking. But we were saying that, like, with any bad game or bad night of D&D or bad DM, you just make it fun, don't you? You know, someone's in a bad mood or someone's character's not doing very well, you just make it fun. So, the first time we played this about a month ago, it was Brad, myself, Ryan, and John on the stream, and we made it good. We had fun. We enjoyed ourselves a lot, didn't we? Yeah. Yeah. I kept trying to remind myself, like, even if we only play it a handful of times, £45 is about the price it is to go to the theatre, the day out. It's like, you know, or the cinema, go to the IMAX and stuff. So, you know, maybe maybe it's justified its price tag. Just for having a bit of fun with you guys. Or is it watching me die from poison? Slowly die from wandering into poison? There you go. Look, I'm learning. I avoided that one. Right, I've got a super move, which I haven't used. Oh, I forgot I've got an ability to grapple. There we go. Yeah, so there's the short rest mechanic. You can choose to take a short rest, in which case you lose your loot bonus. But we're hardcore, aren't we? I mean, not only that, but we're playing it on the easiest mode, so we'll skip the long rest. Thanks, short rest. So I don't know if, like, I don't know what you class it as, Brad, but I reckon there's CRPGs, right? But I would say that, although there's the computer aspect, I'd say that's probably different to, an... Yeah, yeah. Much more sort of tactics based, aren't they, really? Oh, watch out. And so those follow either the same or extremely similar rules to D&D. And then you have your action RPGs, which I would say probably, obviously this is an action RPG, but I'd also probably say maybe The Witcher falls into that category as an action RPG. Oh, you've got a chest over there, have you? Yeah, it is difficult to figure out, sort of. I mean, everybody that's played games knows you've got to go the wrong way first, and then you go the right way, once you've collected all the loot. Oh, nice. I'm going to poke around here, I think. Okay, I was going to say, it looks a little bit too much like an arena for my liking down there. Cassie Bree. She's sort of like got a bit of a sort of, I don't know what this is, like a triangle in circle. She's got a bit of a John Wick with bows vibe. I like very much. One or two. Oh man, so have I just been talking to myself this whole time? Like a lunatic. Well, at least we know now for next time. Yeah, let me have a poke around in a sec. It can't be very interesting for people to watch me go through a menu screen, but let's... Oh, all of your lovely, insightful chat, Bradley. All of your facts and... I know. Yeah, Divinity Original Sin. Am I going to have to translate what you're saying? Yes, Divinity Original Sin.
They're weak while they're...
Yeah. You know, they've got so many games to play that I think, like, if there's ones, just personally, I don't mind waiting to play it with you and Dan and Ryan were playing that with, weren't they? Okay, let me see very quickly then. There must be some kind of... Okay. Well, that's a fun bug. Ah, there we go. Oh, see, that's pretty cool. There's the character stats and everything. Although, because I know nothing about the stats, as clearly as evidenced during my playing, I didn't realise that it somehow didn't make sense. I think it was like Johnny was going, that doesn't make sense. How can I have this much whiz and that much, you know, whatever. I can promote you to leader, but I don't think that will work. Share party audio, yeah. Video clips broadcast include all audio from players in the party who allow their voices to be shared. This overrides the setting include microphone audio and clips, blah blah blah. Maybe it's one of your settings then, I think. What do you think, Brad? Can you hear me? Yeah, it says anyone that's allowed it to be shared can be heard. So maybe there's just a setting where you've got to go, I allow this to happen, or in broadcasts share my microphone or something. But because otherwise no one will hear your wonderful story about Divinity Original Sin. Well, you can have a story about Divinity Original Sin too. Yeah, try broadcast settings. If that's not work, try through the share setting.
You know what I miss? I miss Castle telling us what to do. I hated that guy.
He doesn't love a bit of goblin chat. Okay, let's do it.
Yes, maybe the next shard bearer will let us stab
Right.
some more.
We need a confirmation while I line this guy up in my sights. What do we think, Jim Bob? Can you hear Brad? Brad, give us a little chat about Divinity Original Sin 2. Compare... Have you? Is it drop in, drop out? Can I get you to...
Boy, the other races are out and about.
Oh no, you can't be heard, Brad.
Well,
What?
once we find the shards, but what if we don't
What?
find it? Somebody's gonna find it.
Go for it. Just check, basically check everything.
And everyone else will bow to us.
We'll have this ironed out for next time, I think, if there is a next time. Oh, I could really do with you, Brad. So I don't really know much about the R.A. Salvatore character. Dulcet tones. Yeah, tell me about it. I haven't read any of the R.A. Salvatore books. I don't really know about his characters very much. I know Johnny's really up on them. I know that Catty Bree is the daughter of the character that Ryan was playing. There's Drizzt. Drizzt, is that how you pronounce it? There's an elf, and then there's another Driz, and then there's a beefy dude, isn't it? Like a sort of barbarian type fighter, Wolfgar. Yeah. Are we in a? We are in a party together, aren't we? Sorry about that, folks. I'm just seeing if I can output all audio to headphones, disable game chat audio is off, of course. Mute all mics off. Yeah, we're in the party together. It must be some kind of... Let me try that. What's your volume like? Prioritize party chat. Jim Bob, we're playing on the PS4. I've got the PS4. Brad's got the PS5, but it shouldn't really. I reckon it's playing in back compat mode, so it probably... You got to go into party settings, Brad. I found it. So once you go into the party that we're in, go party settings, and then there's a thing that says allow your voice to be shared, do not allow. And I've just checked mine to always allow. Just audio mix, that should be fine. What do we think, Jim Bob? You're our voice of reason now. Brad, give us your dulcet tones.
Well, you'll have to. My dulcet tones are telling you need to invite me again.
Oh, well, you're in the party, right? So surely you should.
Oh no! Wait! I might be able to just join.
Yeah, try using the same link.
Imagine that. A whole 2.5 hours up. Just Sean talking.
I can't believe. Also, so I don't know. So now it's being streamed and recorded to Twitch. Also, when we listen to it back and pop it up onto our YouTube channel, it's just going to be me talking to myself for like an hour, like an absolute lunatic. Cheers, Jimbo. That's really helpful, mate. We wouldn't have figured it out otherwise. So, thanks for that. Let me know if you're back in, Brad, because I'm too scared to go and fight these guys alone.
I'm trying to, but it's saying failed to join the session. Session is already in progress.
No, so it's not drop in, drop out, you reckon?
Apparently not.
Well, I'll tell you what I can
so.
do. I'm not too worried about progress, mate. Let me return to the camp. And we'll crack on with another mission and get you back in. Let's have a go.
Yeah, because when I think what happened was when I came out to the settings, I went to go back into the game, but it launched the PS5 version and closed the PS4 version.
Right, yeah. Right, I'm just loading back out now. Right, invite only, so that should be fine. Let me manage the session.
Oh, what RPG games that I've played.
Yeah,
It's an excellent, excellent game.
yeah. I played it with
I
you, didn't
personally
I?
finished it on on single player, but
Right.
we did start a group session that is slowly getting there.
Mate, it will take years, but we will get there. We will get there. Because with Larian Studios doing the new Baldur's Gate 3,
They are, yeah. Baldur's Gate 3.
so I reckon what they'll do is, because they're unlikely to also be able to make there you are, mate. Because they're unlikely to be able to make another Divinity, I think that they'll remaster or re-release Divinity 2, or like the entire package 1 and 2. That's what I'm calling anyway.
Possibly. I mean, it's the trend. It's the trend.
But some had broken off and had taken Anaragan's forge. We would have to take out the Verbeeg holding.
I still maintain that if you do find the time, Sean, to play it single player.
To find the Verbeeg.
Right, we're playing it on adventurer. All right, no one's going to convince us otherwise. But we will.
Okay. Yeah, there is a deluxe version of the second one. It includes all the DLC and the Dungeon Master mode, whatever it's called.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd love to play it on my own, but I have too much fun with you guys. There are so few games with that level of quality as Divinity has, that you are actually able to play with other people. That I genuinely, it's one of those things that even if it takes us years and years, like we'll get through it, you know. So it's me, you, Brad, and me, you, Ryan, and Dan that are playing Divinity, and then Dark Alliance. We take out Dan and replace it with Johnny, and that's who we generally been playing Dark Alliance with. But you were telling me, do you know what? I played a bit of Tyranny that you were talking about, weren't you? You were talking about
Tyranny is possibly top 5 for me.
Yeah, top 5 sort of these type of games, or top 5.
Oh, top 5 all games
ever.
Yeah. The only bad thing about it is it's got a really rushed ending.
Right.
Because I think they expected to make a second one, and they released it at the same time as another game. I can't remember. I think it was Pillars of Eternity. They released it at the same time, and so it did really poorly in box office.
But also, like, aren't Obsidian, because it was Obsidian that did that, didn't they? They did, like, New Vegas and the second KOTOR game, right? It's Knights of the Republic 2.
Yes, the writing is exactly what you'd expect of Obsidian, just excellent.
But also, aren't they known for rushing their endings? I don't know if there's an Obsidian game where they haven't rushed their ending. I don't
think New Vegas was particularly rushed. A little bit, maybe, but not awful.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, I mean, they added... New Vegas was ridiculous, because it had, like, 12 endings or something like that.
Oh, yeah, fair enough, you're right.
Yeah, and Tyranny has, to be fair, Tyranny has 5 or 6 different endings.
Maybe just a nibble. I'm starving.
Yeah, I played a bit of Tyranny, only a little bit, and I absolutely loved it. It's got a real it's got a really cool premise. Basically, you know, like obviously the basic premise of Tyranny is that you're the bad guy, and you know, there's more to it than that. But I love that.
Yeah, you don't have to play it as a bad guy, but you are a Fatebinder, which is essentially the judge's executioners. The executioners of, like, his will, not necessarily a killer, of the judge of the Dark Lord of the Realm.
Take heart in that.
Yeah, you're like his, I don't know, Justicar, or whatever you want to call it. You're like his right hand.
Right,
yeah.
Well, you're like the right hand of the judge, not necessarily the Dark Lord himself.
Right. Okay.
So there's all these people that are sort of like archons. That's it. So they're all archons, and there are different archons of, like, war, archons of deceit, and that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. And they're like the pinnacle of what that aspect is. And it so happens that there's an Archon of Judgment, and you're the Fatebinder of the Archon of Judgment, and you've been told that these two Archons that are waging war on the last remaining part of the world that is not under the Dark Lord's control.
Right.
Basically, they're not making any progress, and they're starting to almost be into a civil war. So you've been sent to stop them going to a civil war and to tell them to get on with the job. and you've been given an edict by the Dark Lord that when you proclaim the edict, if you don't settle the dispute in 7 days, everybody in the entire area dies.
Yeah, I love that. Lore-wise, I love the idea of like the edict being sort of indefatigable thing. Like it just happens and nothing can stop it.
Yeah, it's just this piece of paper that when you read, it
yeah.
happens.
It's like a type of magic that I really like the idea. Just lore-wise, like story-wise, that's fantastic. And so, so yeah. Oh, go on, Brad. Go on.
Yeah, well, I've forgotten it now. When you just start saying something, get interrupted and it's gone.
Well, I was just going to sort of remind whoever's listening, Jim Bob et al. And so on, that we've got some extra stuff coming up. There's Blood and Pixels, obviously, which we're going to expand, but we're not going to let it take over our Monday evening slot. Of course, that's for Arian Well. But Dan has something planned, a sort of a long-term game where he sort of Dresden Files inspired, I suppose. But Dan, just like Johnny, is really good at coming up with lore and worlds, and Dan's got one planned. I have something in the works that I've been chatting to a few of the guys about. They think I'm mad for doing it. But I think I'm going to do it on stream, and we're going to play a game and build the rule set, the engine at the same time. So I'll have some basic rules and the engine, but we'll actually play test it live whilst you guys at home, wherever you are, you might not be at home, you guys experience the story. We'll be building the rule set at the same time. Because I just feel like some of the different rule sets I played, I think, you know what, I think we could refine this, take a bit of this, take a bit of that, and do a real story-based one. So that's something I'd like to do with a sort of mechanic. So I'm just going to tease what it's called. So anyone who's actually watching this will get the tease, because you know there's no way I'll take away from Johnny's time on the Blood and Song Arian Well. But it's called Blood and Oil. Blood and Oil. That's the game that we'll be running at some point in the near future. And it has a bit of a sort of, I guess it's a sort of diesel punk game, I guess, is what I would say.
Bit of loot down there.
Thanks, mate. So it's got a bit of a diesel punk vibe, is what I'm trying to go for. And I don't know if you've ever, I don't always like to equate it to other things, but I don't know if you've read the graphic novel Tokyo Ghost. I guess it's like a sort of Akira, you know, the sort of motorcycles from Akira, that sort of like, or like from Dread, mixed with Speed Racer. So it's going to be sort of like like Speed Racer meets Blades in the Dark, is sort of what I'm going for. So that's what we'll be. Yeah, so that's Blood and Oil. That'll be coming out at some point when we figure out the right time to bring that to people.
I've recently rewatched. It's nowhere near as good as I remember in terms of quality, but there's Vampire Hunter D.
Oh, I've not. Do you know what? I've not seen it yet. Yeah,
It's an old anime movie now, 1984, up there with like Akira in terms of age.
Yeah.
But the quality's nowhere near the level that is Akira.
Yeah.
But in terms of a world that's quite interesting, it's got that.
Yeah.
Like set 12,700 years after the apocalypse. And like vampires rule the world, but there are like cyborg horses and stuff. Super weird.
That was cool.
Will there be carbide combat?
What's that? Say that again.
In Blood and Oil, will there be carbide combat?
Yes, there will be. So I wouldn't even say that they're bikes, and I wouldn't, you know, they're not necessarily bikes, but they're not cars. So they have to be that sort of slim style that a bike has. But yeah, there will be sort of that sort of combat. So there will be sort of vehicle-to-vehicle combat. There will be a racetrack for each domain, so each area will have its own style of racetrack, sort of individual to the type of area that it is. So one of the areas I know I'm going to do, and Ryan and I talked about this before our Friday game, which we'll chat about later, I'm sure. There's going to be like a luchador sort of district, if you like, and that will have a specific style of ring, you know, like, so their race will be very much sort of inspired by wrestling. What's this guy doing? Where's his health bar gone? Oh, there it is. Just giving you a heal. And then there's loads of other factions. So each faction will have its own bespoke style of ring, their own arena, their home turf, if you like. And it will vary depending on the type of leader and type of area, and what their sort of preferred sort of race is. So there will be racing combat, and more than that, there'll be a sort of dedicated ability to build your vehicles and have your own team. Basically, you build a team. So similar to how in Blades in the Dark, you're sort of like a team of sort of reprobates, and you're basically sort of building to your retirement. In Blood and Oil, you're building your team, and you're trying to become, for a variety of personal reasons, the winners of the overall tournament, the overall championship.
That does sound pretty cool.
So it'll be one of these things where some of the rules will be set in stone, and we'll have to.
Yeah, you wanted it to be a more fluid system, like Fate, didn't you?
Yeah,
Rather
and
than like D&D.
I think so, and I even think, like, for example, I don't mind crunchiness, but just I like a system to get out of the way, really. And I think one sheets are almost too, like lasers and feelings and other sorts of things, which are great. Maybe that's what we'll end up doing on Monday, next Monday. I love lasers and feelings, but maybe it's too simple. And then something like, Pathfinder, Starfinder, or less so D&D, but other things can be quite weighty. I mean, even if you want to get into Blades in the Dark, it's a hell of a lot of work for the DM. And I sort of like a system that is halfway between like Fiasco and halfway between Blades in the Dark, something that lends itself to storytelling. So one of the things I'll be instituting is that the races and other sorts of encounters, heists, combat, action takes place using the 5-act structure. So it's a little bit like cinema. So cinema, like, you traditionally uses a 3-act structure, but you find a lot of epic films or large films, or even something, let's say, like The Dark Knight. The Dark Knight film uses a 5-act structure. It's just me getting poisoned and shooting barrels, and you doing all the hard work, Brad. Just like usual. Just like our usual stream. Oh, I see. That was. I only just saw. You cut out a bit earlier on, Brad. That was a comment from Jim Bob. Yeah. There will be vehicle combat. It's exactly what I'm hoping to do, and I'm hoping to make the races feel as integral as, like, the heist in Blades in the Dark, or let's say combat and exploration and other sorts of aspects of D&D. So that I'm hoping to have that in a way that feels. It's difficult, but I think it. We're also happy to sort of. We're also happy to sort of take feedback while we're doing it live, because we're interested in how to refine it and make it pleasurable to watch and listen to and pay attention to, and at the same time play. I don't know where I'm going, Brad. I found another chest by what looks like a toilet. An orc toilet.
Don't destroy it. It's probably the only one they have. Oh. Well.
Oh! See, I adjusted the party chat as well so that we could hear us. So I hope you can hear the game as well.
Well, that's what Jim Bob's asked.
Jim Bob's comment about
how's
the game.
Yeah, it's okay. It's if you've got people to play with, it's okay and decent amount of fun. By yourself, nah. I wouldn't play it by myself.
I think you're right, Brad. I think you're right. Like we played it the first time we played it, Jim Bob. We played it with Johnny and Ryan and Brad and myself. We played it, and it was a lot of fun. Like you could tell it was bad. Like you could tell it was a janky game, and they haven't really patched it. It was rushed out, and it's not great. There's a load of little bugs that make it terrible. Like as you can see, as we're fighting, like you can't change the direction of your combat. If you start a combo, that's it. You're locked into that one character. You can't sort of zip around. But we had a lot of fun, didn't we, Brad, when we played it? Yeah. You're right, Jim Bob. That's the thing. It reminds us, ironically, like a bad D&D campaign. It's like if you've ever played a bad campaign. Look at this guy throwing the traps. If you've ever played a bad campaign, you know that like you have two choices. You either leave the campaign and then maybe leave your mates and leave the sort of your regular meeting, or you just all make it good. You sort of don't take the fact that it's bad for an answer, do you? You just sort of enjoy it. And that's what we did with Dark Alliance, wasn't it? So you're absolutely right, Brad. It's not the sort of game you want to play on your own. There are so many better games to play on your own. But if you've got mates who've got it, or you're thinking of getting it with some friends, I would actually recommend it. Whoa. Alright. This guy's going to get my special move, alright?
I'm running out of life.
Boom!
That's alright, I've got potions actually. Don't worry about it.
Okay, cool. If you need me, I can.
I'm sure that's not why people are still playing that game. It's the Thursday night guys, right? With Johnny. Yeah, he always speaks good things about the game.
Yeah, definitely. I don't know if it's a Thursday night game. It might be a different day, but yeah, Johnny loves those games.
Yeah, he does a lot of D&D stuff now.
Yeah.
A lot.
And he does talk positively about them a lot, yeah. But that's because he likes to... I think he's a wizard in your game, isn't he? Because he likes to just dick around and mess around and sort of wind people
guessed that, and you'd most likely be right.
He loves playing... He'll always play a wizard.
Yeah, we remember that. It transforms into a T-Rex a lot. He's mentioned
he keeps trying to break it, exactly, yeah. So what that does is, that means, Jim Bob, I'm sure you've noticed this, is that he tries desperately to stop us from breaking his game. So really, I think he plays... part of the reason why he loves your game is because he can try and break it, so that he can try and make sure we don't break his game.
He's stated in the past he loves anti-magic room. I won't tell him. Yeah. He said that he loves Wizard because it gives him that control when he's not actually a DM.
Yeah. I think he likes an intellectual challenge. I mean, Johnny and I, we've always had a good friendship based on being able to wind each other up and still be friends, and being able to sort of test each other's beliefs.
And that's putting it lightly.
Yeah, I know. You should be party to some of the conversations we have that Brad has been. But yeah, so we sort of like to challenge each other and sort of elevate each other by sort of testing each other. And that's what a wizard does, isn't it? That's basically a wizard through and through, so there's no mystery as to why Johnny loves being a wizard. Because I think he likes to be intellectually challenged. So yeah, Jim Bob, put him in an anti-magic room, because it'll give him a chance to figure out how he's going to weasel out of it. And he'd love that. Yeah, I know you do, mate. Yeah, and so do we. That's the fun of all these things, isn't it? Yeah. And that's why we're missing him today, actually, as well, even on this, because we had such a laugh with him when we were playing Dark Alliance last time. So what was your first... So obviously you played... Brad, you played card games and things, you were saying. Well, but what else...
Yeah.
Was it... What was your first experience with D&D like then? I'll tell you mine afterwards.
Oh, it was playing Strahd, but not with you guys. The first
Right.
time I ran Strahd with the guys that I play like MMOs and stuff with on PC.
So did you run...
Yeah, we
you
didn't
ran
get-
a
we didn't
game
get
before
very
you
far.
played a game, basically? Is that how it worked? You ran a
Yeah.
game before you played a game? Wow. Jesus.
Yeah, I've DM'd way more than I've played.
Yeah. That's really, like, interesting, man, to DM before you play.
Yeah, I was the one that had to learn the rules. No, none of us had played, so I was the one that had to like learn the rules and explain it to everybody else. And it was super slow, and they lost interest.
Whose fault was that, Brad?
Yeah, it's definitely the DM's fault. It's always the DM's fault.
Well, I got a
Yeah,
healing...
forever DM. I'm lucky that Johnny can DM as well.
So Brad DM's our Friday game, Jim Bob, as well. So we have a little Friday game off stream, and it's nice to sort of unwind with a Friday game as well. They're both very different, aren't they? They're very different games, and Johnny and Brad, you're both very different DMs, which I love. I love it. I love seeing how many different DM styles there are. And we're doing Strahd at the moment on our Friday game, Brad, aren't we?
We are, although we're taking a long hiatus at the moment.
But you have a you've done a sort of homebrew, or like you've taken some stuff off of Reddit. Someone's done like a really interesting sort of.
Oh yeah, so someone basically reimagined the whole of the Strahd stuff, and I stole a lot of stuff off that. It's fantastic. Well worth a read afterwards.
Yeah. No, it's really good, Brad. I'm really enjoying it. But after that, I don't know if you want to tease or chat about what you've been creating so far. Because although it's a Friday game, part of me thinks it might be nice to record it. Even if we put it out as like extra content, right? Or like, you know, we don't do it live or anything. Or
I mean, the worry is that we're so less tongue-tied in our Friday games, if you like.
well, I guess it's because it's not being streamed. We're a lot looser, aren't we? I suppose.
Yeah, that's one word for it.
But then I like having one where we're a bit more cinematic, like in Johnny's game, and we're a bit more, you know, like we've got a different kind of thing we put forward. Whereas, yeah, I mean, if we recorded them and we did 2 or 3 and realised, well, maybe we could put these out, we could put them out. If we do 2 or 3 and then think this is horrendous, then it'll never see the light of day. That would be up to you, Brad. Anyway.
Yeah. Homebrew. Yeah. Homebrew is so much hard work.
I don't think I'd. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm in the midst of like a couple of months now creating my own world. It's so much hard work.
I've been disconnected, which is. You wanted to know whether you should get this game, Jim Bob? You have to bear in mind.
There's your answer.
That this happens all the time. Last time I did this, quick play online. Last time I did this, I had to turn the whole game off and on again.
Really? Oh
Yeah.
God.
Let's try this. Let's try it again. Yeah, so so once we finish Strahd, Brad, I know you're creating a homebrew world, aren't you?
In a manner, yeah.
And you've only given us little bits of information, which I love, obviously, hearing a little bit about it here and there.
Yeah, I'll give you the cliff notes of the world, yeah.
Yeah, enough to sort of figure out what our characters are going to be like. But what are the What can you tell? Can you tell people the overview? Can you give them a little few hints? Yeah.
Well,
Just while I'm trying to get you back into the game.
It's just sort of like it's a very grim, dark sort of world, which is what I love. It's why I like Warhammer. It's why I like D&D.
What are other examples of grim dark?
Maybe not so much grim dark, but
like Hollow
definitely
Knight,
Warhammer.
Bloodborne,
Hollow
and
Knight
stuff
is
like that.
yeah, Hollow Knight, Bloodborne, Dark Souls. They're all very grim, dark. Yeah.
Okay.
But it's mainly Warhammer is what inspires me, because I love that big fusing of just silly stuff in with the grimdark. Like the fact that orcs make things, like in 40k at least, orcs make things work because they think they work. And if enough orcs believe it, it becomes true. And like there's the whole debate, both in the game world and not in the world, of whether their gods existed before the orcs, or if the gods existed after the orcs because the orcs believed in them. Super weird.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I love it.
And then that's mixed in, obviously, with chaos demons that kill everything in sight.
Yeah.
So it's very fun.
Yeah, you're right, Jim.
It will.
Yeah.
It will. Yeah, I've thought about doing a full, just like Warhammer fledged thing in 5e, but I couldn't be asked to explain the backstory enough to everybody.
Oh, you're going to do like a side story within the Warhammer world, basically.
Well, no, it's not going to be tied at all to Warhammer. It's just going to be Warhammer influenced. I want to keep it separate because Warhammer is one of those things where you need to know a little bit about everything to know why things are the way they are.
Right.
Otherwise, it's just nonsensical, and even then, it's a bit confusing. Yeah, I wouldn't want to do Dark Heresy. I looked at the books and online PDF, and I thought, wow, that's exceedingly complicated for a tabletop RPG.
Is Dark Heresy the rule set as well? Okay, right.
Yeah, it's the Warhammer 40k rule set. There's 6 or 7 different rule sets. Dark Heresy is considered the best one, and even then, it's a struggle.
Right.
But yeah, it's like, because like people, like if you run into like a really heavily armored enemy, their like legs and arms and head and torso all have different toughness.
Oh wow, okay. It's a little bit like Fallout then or something.
Yeah, a little bit. And there's obviously, because it's grimdark, there's permanent disabilities and there's mania, insanity. Yeah, there's like insanity rules, and there's corruption rules from the Chaos Realms and all sorts.
Are you going to bring that into the Friday game, or?
No, there's not. Well, there's an element of the Chaos Realms, but it's nowhere near as complicated.
Right.
And there's not a realm per se.
Was bad enough in the first
there's just chaotic beings that influence reality in a negative way.
Has it got a name yet? Have you teased a name with us, or?
I think I gave you the name of the world, or at least the continent.
But the game itself doesn't have a name yet. I love a name. I'm all about the name. I'm a name first.
I haven't actually thought of one. I suppose it depends on where you start.
Oh, okay. How's where we start figured out? Will you let us choose, or how are you
so
defining
basically,
it?
I'm going to say, I'm going to pick out 3 or 4 places and say, where do you want to start? Here's a rough outline of the sort of threats in that area that you might face at higher levels, like the Crystal Seed or the Rattling Plague.
Right.
So how many sort of worlds? I've got about 4 sort of world-ending threats that are not world-ending yet, but they will be in time.
Right.
So it's sort of weird because the world is on a very, very long timer. So there's no pressure on you guys to like finish anything really quickly.
Okay.
But as you grow in level, world's going to tick by in such a way that those world-ending threats are going to get stronger and stronger with you.
Oh, that's cool. Okay, that makes more sense. So the
Yeah,
world
so
scales
it's-
with us, basically, is what
Yeah,
you're
so,
saying.
so it almost seems
Yeah.
like the world's getting into a darker and more dreadful place as you grow in power, because you can only juggle so many balls.
Mm-hmm.
You can only handle so many threats, and so those threats that you can't handle grow in size.
Ah, see, I like that, yeah. Because we're worried in Johnny's game, aren't we, that because it's more of a persistent world, I guess like a little bit more like you might imagine something like Skyrim or something, we're sort of worried that as things go on, we might miss them, which is the pressure in that game, which works for Johnny's game, but I sort of like the way you're doing it for your one as well. Yeah, I think it works better for a Friday game, doesn't it?
Yeah, it needs to have that element of, if you don't handle it, then what happens to it? Because
Yeah.
otherwise it becomes this massive plot hole in the world, and then the game feels more like a game and not a world anymore.
Mm-hmm.
It's a wonder they offer us any resistance at all.
So you DM Strahd before you, yeah, Jim
Yeah,
Bob, you're right. Sorry, I'm just reading Jim Bob's comments. Yeah, you're right when you create sort of like a living, breathing world. And I don't know if you saw, I don't know, Jim Bob, if you saw the Jasper's Game Day that, I didn't see the one that Johnny played in. Oh shit, I'm gonna die, man. I know he played a, come on. I know he played in a Star Wars one, didn't he? But the one that he ran,
Yes.
he ran one
An
that
Escape
you were in,
from
weren't
Hell
you?
in Nerium
How
World.
was
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
Brad? I haven't seen my Twitch wouldn't work in the second
It was good
room I was
fun.
in.
It's just a little bit of madness.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good fun. It's just a little bit of madness. Creating a crazy character,
Yeah.
reminiscent of Palm. So
Yeah, so I
dear.
felt Palm's energy with his
yeah.
Australian accent, and his sort of I don't know, nihilism, I suppose. Yeah, I enjoyed that very much. I only watched the first half though, so I don't know how it ended up. But yeah, that was the extended world, wasn't it? Very well. It had
Yes.
sort of Lurian was in it, which was kind of cool.
Yeah, Lurin and the other two. I'm so bad with names.
Only Johnny needs to remember the
It
name.
was an Australian accent. It was trying to be. I tried to put a little bit of goblin in the Australian accent, so it has got twisted and warped a lot.
We've sort of ruled now that in all of our games, our D&D games, all the goblins are Australian,
Yeah.
or have some sort of Antipodean accent anyway. That's our thing. All because of Palm. We played. It was our Friday game, wasn't it? When Johnny was doing an Eberron campaign.
Yeah, before we started streaming, we did an
Yeah.
Eberron game. And I played a goblin warrior called Palm, with a great sword that trailed behind him.
Yeah.
Is it working yet?
What I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to leave the game. So I just thought, well, let's just chat for a bit while we're online. Because if I leave the game, I'm cognizant that it might stop the broadcast. I don't know if that's how it
Oh,
works.
okay, that makes sense.
You know,
Well,
so-
I wonder if I could just join off you then. No, it doesn't look like I can.
We'll just crack on separately and keep chatting for a bit. We might just do like a sort of just a 2-hour straight through sesh today, and then just tease Jim Bob etc. on what we might do next Monday. I'm feeling like a lasers and feelings is what we need to do, right? A sort of time-based lasers and feelings. I don't know if you've ever played lasers and feelings, Brad.
I've never played Lasers and Feelings, I don't know what you're on about.
So it's a one-sheet game, which I think, if I remember correctly, was created by some of the Evil Hat studios, so some of the people who Blades in the Dark, and a handful of other things.
Right.
And it's basically just designed to be contained in any environment. Like, for example, Lasers and Feelings is set in a spaceship, the one sheet, but you can move it to anywhere. As long as you remember that Lasers is science, and Feelings is emotion. So if you think about Star Trek, if you think that Lasers is Spock because he's the science officer and he's very logical.
Yeah.
Feelings is Kirk. So, very sort of like emotion driven and brash and sort of emotion driven. And you basically roll. We'll go over more of it if that's what we do next week. See, because the engine is fun, but it's the setting that we want to leave people wondering where we're going to be. Is it going to be in the Aryan world? Is it going to be in the Blood and Song extended universe? Is it going to be, where's it going to end up? But essentially, it's you roll based on lasers or feelings, and then I believe it's you have to get over a certain amount if it's lasers, and under a certain amount it's feelings, and it's story driven, and you can sort of tackle issues and just basically go through like an episode of TV. It's like a
Okay. Yeah.
It's basically what you do. It's designed to be very simple, pick up and play. So we will have Christine back next week and Ryan back next week to join you and I, won't we?
Yeah, which is why we're going to try and do it.
Yeah, and then we'll do some kind of one-shot which I'm excited about.
Which I will not be able to do the technical stuff, remember?
Oh, is that okay? Yeah, no problem. I think I've got it. I mean, you were only muted for the first hour of this entire thing, so I think I've got it.
We won't be on PlayStation then. We won't be on PlayStation.
Yeah, you're right. So the first game I played, Brad, was a long time ago, and it's quite an unusual connection because I played a lot without Johnny before we sort of came together over D&D. He, for his birthday, he asked to run a D&D game, and this was when we were back.
Cool.
Yeah, so this was back when we were in Aylesbury, back when we lived in Buckinghamshire. I think it was before I went to college, so we were young. Actually, it might have been after I came back from college. But we were really young, and we had no idea what D&D was. And we played because, obviously, we liked Johnny, and it was his birthday. But he wanted to create characters for us. That was his whole thing, is that he wanted to create characters for us, which, of course, you can imagine Johnny loving that sort of thing, can't you?
Yeah. Making him very satirical of the person they're about, probably.
Oh, man, yeah, too right. So my character, obviously, I'm an Asian guy, I'm of an Asian persuasion. And so's Johnny, of an Anglo-Indian. He's got some Anglo-Indian blood in him, although I've never seen any evidence of it. No, I'm joking. No, his grandma is Anglo-Indian. So he created a character called Saint Areotype. So I was a saint called Saint Areotype, and when you looked at that on paper, it said stereotype. So he made me the stereotype of an Asian character, or rather, he called me Saint Areotype, and I made myself a sort of.
You took it to heart.
Yeah, like in Not Another Teen Movie, they have the two black guys that in there, only one of them can be in the movie because those movies don't allow for more than one ethnic minority. So like, one of them has to agree to leave, right? So it's like that, and just more taking the piss of the sort of the way the mediums portray these sorts of people. So that was fun, and I think I was some kind of cleric or something to justify the saint. Do you know what? I asked Johnny to chat about it next time we're on, because I can't remember the details, except that we had a really good time playing it, but because Johnny, how can I put this delicately, sometimes enjoys winging it. Not all the time. Sometimes he's incredibly prepared, but he enjoyed winging it, so we just played fast and loose with the rules, which again doesn't really sound like Johnny, does it? Especially not based on the Monday games. But we just played fast and loose basically, and we just had a laugh,
Yeah.
and we all had a good time and sort of basically dipped around together. But then I didn't think about D&D again for till way after uni, till I can't remember how many years ago now, maybe 6-7 years ago. So I've only been into it for that long. And Dan got me into it basically. So Dan got me into D&D, which I'm sure everybody already knows that some of his family, his uncles actually watched the stream. They got him into D&D, so that was the closed circle. And then just sort of connected with. We sort of found out that we were all playing, really, didn't we? We sort of found out, like, okay, well, Brad's DMs, he knows what he's talking about. Johnny has been DMing for a little while, and he knows what he's talking about. And Ryan's been playing with me and Dan, so we just sort of all brought it together, and it was just a nice confluence of events, wasn't it? Sort of all worked
Only
out.
just though for me.
What's that? You'd only just started, you mean?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, but you went in the deep end.
I didn't. Yeah, I did go in the deep end.
Because you went in the deep end by DMing first, so
Very
that
interesting.
probably did it, didn't it? Like,
Yeah. Yeah, it was just good to actually play with somebody that was interested in playing it and not like wanted to try it out. Oh, not for me.
not for me, sort of thing. Yeah.
None of my family is definitely not going to be interested. Apart from my mum and dad, a whole lot are like northerners, so if you're not working in the factory, sort of northerners.
Yeah.
Back in my day.
Yeah.
Lost an arm and a leg when I.
Yeah. So yeah, and then what was our? My memory is obviously worse than yours because I'm old and wise. But what was our first? Can you remember our first session together? I can't remember. Like, I know it must have been an Eberron campaign, right? We started with Eberron.
First session together was the episode. Was the first series of
Earth's Embers. Yeah, shit,
Earth's
you're right.
Embers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I'd completely forgotten that. Yeah, of course, you're right. And what was it like? You played a warlock, didn't you?
Yes.
I see you there,
I played a traitor. It's good, great fun.
Was that baked in? Did you chat to Johnny about that beforehand? Because you did stab me in the back, didn't you, deliciously, and stab everyone in the back, didn't you?
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's a nice story, Jim. Yeah, I think I found, talking to people online, a lot of people found Critical Role was their sort of entry into it. Yeah, it's nice that you managed to get out there, though, and find a group.
Oh, that's really great, Jim Bob. Honestly, that's what this sort of shit can do, isn't it? Like, that's what because it's just like a community, and you're all sort of. I mean, when I was growing up, I was in a bit of a shit place as well, mate. When I first got into D&D, and Dan was just like, "Look, you need to get out of your zone. Come hang out with me, cousin. Like, we'll just hang out, and trust me, while we're hanging out, we might as well play D&D." I was like, "Yeah, okay then." And Ryan came along as well, and while we're playing D&D, you just think, shit, like at the end of the night, it's a bit like a stag do, I think, when you first play D&D with people. At the end of the night, when you finish the game of D&D, even if they're with strangers, because Dan had a lot of drop-in, drop-out sessions, which I really liked, and I missed that actually. At the end of the night, you just end up going, I feel like I know you people, so well. You just sort of, you all bond like you've been through some sort of experience together. And it's like, whether it was bonding over the combat or bonding over the exploration or the role-play, or it's always something different in tabletop role-playing games for you to sort of connect with someone over,
I think
right?
part of it, I think, is everyone has a little bit of themselves in their characters. But by being a character, they're allowed to be a bit more expressive than they otherwise would be.
Yeah, I think you're right, yeah. Or more reserved even sometimes, Like,
Yeah.
If some of the characters you play, you think, I'm not going to be an annoying villain like I am in real life. Although we've had some feedback already, Jim Bob.
You have tried. You have tried Sean to create a reserved character. It has not worked yet.
I know. We've had some feedback from Taj as well that my character is thoroughly annoying. Sixsmith. But then I don't know if I told you this, Brad. Yeah, he was like, "Why is Sixsmith so annoying?" But then said to me, he's an Anglo-Bangladeshi Chaktarj. He said to me, he reminds me of my dad's side of the family. Reminds me of those sort of men you get in sort of sometimes get in Asian and Southern Asian families. And I was like,
The bravado sort of thing.
yeah, that sort of. And I was like, thanks, man. That's like exactly what I was going for. So I know that.
I'm glad you saw it that way, Sean.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, tell me about it. I'm glad that Jim Bob and like obviously in Taj and a few others they don't have problems understanding the difference between characters and people.
Yeah.
So it's nice that Six can be annoying.
We'd be in a whole lot of trouble if people did misunderstand.
Yeah. But yeah, thanks for sharing, Jim Bob. Yeah, that's. It's. I think it's important for this sort of stuff. I mean, we just played with my fiance, my dad, and my aunt for the first time, and they absolutely loved it. And there were different aspects that they got into with it. I just loved being able to share it. You know, there was a time where I would have been like, you know, in Soto, you know, quietly like, oh, I'll play D&D. But now I'm like, no, you know what? It's one of the most important things I do in my life, I think. It's a real part of me, and an extension of all the stuff I love. I'm proud of it. I'm proud of it, and I'm proud of the people I play with and the games we play. And I just wish there was more time to play more games.
Yeah, I know.
You know?
I'm going to try again at Christmas to get my parents and my sister to play it, but it's not going to happen.
Do you think they'd get into it if they did play it, or Brad?
My mum, maybe.
Yeah.
My dad is maybe a bit too reserved.
Right.
And my sister, maybe. But they just don't... like, the problem with them is that they have the typical view of D&D, of it's LARPing, basically.
Yeah.
And it's just not. And so, you try and fight that point of view so much. The closest I've ever gotten them to play D&D is that board game Betrayal on the House on the Hill.
Right. Yeah.
And even then, they don't understand the more RP heavy aspects of it.
Right.
Like I'm explaining stuff that happens when they walk into a room, and they're like, "What does that mean?" And it's like, "You pick one image."
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Like, I played with my fiance, and beforehand she was like, "I don't want to play." I was like, "Okay, that's fine. You don't have to, but why? You know, can I know why you don't want to play?" She goes, "I don't want to do an accent." I said, "Oh man, if that's it, you don't have to do an accent at all. You know, that's not a part of it if you don't want it to be. Like, that's the beauty of tabletop role-playing games. You sort of everyone sort of is allowed.
You don't necessarily even have to talk in character. You can just narrate what you do.
Yeah, precisely. So as soon as she found that out, she was like, "Okay, cool," because it depends on what you build on, isn't it? So for her, she knew video games, right? She knew Final Fantasy. She's half Japanese, so she knew Final Fantasy. And even impressed me, like when I first said to her, "Oh yeah, I like Final Fantasy," you know, I played from 7 onwards. She was like, "Oh yeah, I played from like 2 onwards." So, okay, fair enough. Japan.
That's a lot of gaming.
Yeah. So she'd started way ahead of me on Final Fantasy. So for her, I said it's a little bit like Final Fantasy. So that was how I got it to her. To my dad, yeah, you're right, Jim Bob, and you're right. It's just about getting them over the first step, and I think it's different for each person, isn't it? So for my dad, I said it's like, he loves numbers. He's very analytical, and I said to him, well, there's a lot of number crunching if you want. You know, the way you build your character, or even the way you play in combat. And there's a lot. The tactics are very numbers based if you want them to be. So he really loved that. Got right into it. And my aunt, I just said, you know, you can tell she's always wanted to not act, but like she wanted to role play, but she didn't really know what role play was. She's always curious, oh, what's this, what's that? So I said, you know, you just get to sort of be a different person, a different thing. And immediately she turned up and she was like, I want to be a goblin. This is from a woman who, like, I didn't know had any knowledge of fantasy in any way, you know, she's my aunt. She just went, I want to be a goblin. Well, like, alright, fair enough. I was giving her the whole spiel about, I said this on the stream last week, but I gave her the whole spiel about how you should create your character name, because some people it's a real stumbling block for them. I really love coming up with names. Christine, for example, used a name generator, and just quick as a flash, Barb just went Buns. My character's called Buns, and I was like, yeah, fair enough. You know, just you do you. So yeah, it's about. I think it's about gently sort of getting them over the hurdle that's stopping them from getting into it. If they are wanting to get into it, of course.
Yeah, I can just see the arguments in my head. Like, roll for acrobatics. They roll like an 18, but they wanted to jump over a 20-foot bridge or something. Yeah.
Oh, what in your family? You reckon they're gonna?
You make it 60 feet across the bridge before you get to the edge. And then it's just like that, oh, what, but I rolled really high! And it turns into an argument from there.
Do you know what? People argue over less in board games for Christmas, don't they? They argue over Monopoly and other things,
horrible.
right?
We're not allowed to play Monopoly anymore. Nothing like that. And it's usually because my dad doesn't listen during everyone explaining the rules.
Right.
And then halfway down the game, he'll do something that's not in the rules. And then my sister accuses him of cheating, and it all goes downhill from there.
You know, you should do what I do. You should convince them to play when it's your birthday, because then they have to do it for you. Right? That's what I always do. I'm so sneaky. I always want my friends and family to do something that I think they'll love, but that they might be resistant to initially. I ask them to do it for my birthday. And then if they say no, then obviously they don't love me enough.
That's not exclusive to your family, I don't think.
No, it's not. I've roped you guys into a few script readings and things.
I've always enjoyed it. I've always been, but I can always tell that like Sam and Aaron and all that lot.
Well, they're always resistant at first. Yeah, but when they get into it, they love it. You see. And so yeah, I think it's just that sort of gentle coaxing. Sometimes it takes, or the guilt of saying it's for my birthday.
I'm not sure I have it in me to guilt trip my parents.
I think that's what parents do. They spend their entire lives guilt tripping you, you know.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So who's the have you played a lot of games without us, Brad? Did you play a lot of games? I know you DM'd a few beforehand, but was your first character...
I'm trying to rope the guys back into some DM, some D&D.
Those guys, your Strahd guys, you mean?
Yeah, the old gang. But like, they're so disparate. Like, two of them are off playing World of Warcraft Classic at the moment.
Right.
And one guy's on and off, we barely see him. So, it's just not going to happen for a while, it doesn't look like.
Yeah. Who's your favourite character then that you've played as, Brad?
I've played as?
Yeah. I mean, if you have a character you prefer that someone else has played as, you can pick that too. But I was just wondering what your, out of the ones that you played. Palm was good, wasn't he?
Palm.
Yeah. I quite liked my character for that, Evie, as well. Like, it's a shame that game sort of had the Eberron game had to stop so that, the Arianwell game could start. I understand that, but it was a good game, I thought.
Yeah, I'm not saying Latavius dies. But if Octavius does die, I'm gonna have to bring in the Brit.
Bring in like a brother of Palm or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe not a goblin, maybe not Australian, but definitely the behaviour.
Yeah, I think it's always good to have a sort of slightly, I wouldn't say chaotic, but definitely a character who's unpredictable. Right now, that's Ripper, I think. You never know what Ripper's going to do. You never know
that's true.
What level of unpredictability he's going to have. But, I don't know about you, but I think he's going to get more sensible as he starts to find his purpose, starts to, I guess, literally mature as a character into a vessel, and, especially as the gods start to factor more into our story, I think he's going to sort of, he's going to find his place a bit more. So that's going to leave the slot open for a... What's that?
I didn't know that's how CR started at all. That's cool. Apparently it started as a birthday thing as well.
Oh, did it? See?
Yeah, apparently so.
I love that.
Jim Bob. That's cool.
That's fantastic, cool. Isn't it? Yeah. See, that's it. It's all about the birthday guilt trip, I'm telling you. A friend of mine said to me the other day, I don't really do anything for my birthday. I don't really want to do anything for my birthday. And then in the next breath he said, why is our mate really unreliable at getting back to us and he never wants to meet up? Even though when we meet up we have a great time. I said, you should have guilt tripped him into doing something for your birthday. Combine the two things together, I'm telling you, that's the way forwards.
Yeah, I'm just glad lockdown's sort of starting to lift now. Or it has lifted even.
I mean,
so we need to organise real life stuff now.
Yeah. So I mean, if we're still talking like TTRPGs, etc., and other sort of nights. By the way, I'm so up for like a gaming night as well. Like everyone together playing co-op games, LAN games, and like couch co-op games and stuff. I'm so up for it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so if we're talking TTRPGs, like it's going to be a bitch to set up the cameras, but we've got to do one in person, haven't we? We've got to do, like, no matter how much work it's going to be, we're going to have to do one in person. And that's going to be a lot of fun. Johnny's got a new house, which he talks about on stream briefly, but he worked really hard for it. He's worked his butt off, and he deserves it. And we deserve to all go there and enjoy it as well. So, and it's got enough room for everybody.
That, you're right.
Yeah, right, don't we? It's been a shit couple of years, so I think we all deserve to go around to Johnny's and wreck the place, and hopefully do a stream from there. So we do our Friday game, Brad. What's the best thing? Can you tell us what the best thing is that we've missed? That's the question I have. Like, because there's loads of content in there, and of course, if we roam around and do other things, you can recycle content, of course. But if you,
I think I've managed to push you to all the big bits.
Oh, have you? That's good.
I managed to push you in that direction. You've definitely done a lot of things I wouldn't have expected. Of course, it's D&D. Like completely forgetting about the children that you were meant to save.
I blame that thing.
Abandoned them in Valakai.
You know what that is? That's playing every fortnight, right? When you play every fortnight, you don't remember anything. So I blame that more than our, poor choices as characters. But yeah, what about you, Jim Bob? Is there anything in your game that you can talk about? Obviously, it's not a spoiler. That you.
Well, apparently they've already started playing at Johnny's.
What's that?
Jim Bob's game. That's fully fledged at Johnny's new pad now.
What's this? Is this something? Oh, that's because they live in the same. You live in the same town, don't you? As far as I remember, you from the club.
Might be just joking, but it could very well be true. Yeah.
You cheeky bastard. I mean that in a friendly way, not in as nasty a way as it just sounded. But I'm quite jealous now. I mean, whether it's a joke or not, you definitely will get a chance to get there before we do, for sure. What's that? You could be fighting a boss.
I just need a proper on the table D&D session because believe it or not, I've not actually done an over the table D&D session yet.
Oh no, I would still consider the Earth's Embers one. We did that round of time.
Oh no, yeah, true. That was over the table, but it was with like loads of mics in front of our face, so it didn't have that same true to feel experience.
No, you're right. Do you know what?
And we were all sat very awkwardly in a tiny music studio.
Yeah, we were. I would say that it doesn't matter whose house we go to, we'll have a great time doing a little in-person session. And Jim Bob,
you're about that. My house was 6 people.
No, your house is pretty cracking, man. Your house is alright. And Jim Bob, I don't know if the club's reopened, but you guys should at some point be able to do it in the club, right? Because I know that Johnny loves those games, but I know there's nothing quite like doing it in person. There you go. And a trophy stuck on that.
Yeah, that's it, isn't it? It's that over the table, people can actually be a little bit more freedom with talking and being involved. Whereas, like, if you're online, you can't speak with somebody else, like have a little whisper, because
Yeah.
it's all the same call.
You're 100% right, Jim Bob, and it's that also that aspect of like you can just sort of get up and make a cup of tea. Like, you can just get up and also we miss this sort of above and below the table chats, like not metaing or anything, but we just like the ability to go into the kitchen when you're making a cup of tea and say, oh man, what we're going to do about the next combat encounter. There's just a slightly different atmosphere, isn't there, when you're all together. Yeah, okay. Well, it's good that the club's expanded anyway, isn't it, man? Like, Jim Bob. Like, it's good that the club sort of... When you take the club to the house, that's when you know it's... you're good friends.
It's a solid group, yeah.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. But what sort of music, Jim Bob? That's the thing. Like, what sort of... any sort of music, or how do you divide it? Is it whoever owns the house gets the choice in music? Do you have, like, a queue kicking off, like where you can add to the queue? Is it just like D&D based sort of combat and exploration music? What's your sort of thing? I know we use Sirenscape now for our games, but I do miss the sitting in a room and somebody chucking on some tunes at the same time. But what about you, Jim Bob? What's the background music that you use? Okay, yeah, fair enough.
Witcher, yeah, classic.
Yeah,
It's just too good of a soundtrack.
Oh man, am I
I
going to?
I even got that on vinyl the other day. So happy I managed to get it. Yeah,
Nice one.
They were doing another limited edition reprint.
Was it Black Screen Records or I Am 8-Bit? Who's doing it?
It was Black Screen Records.
Yeah.
I think I did send it to you because it was last October, I think. Yeah. Said, nah, I'm not going to spend 70 quid on a vinyl album.
There's just like I just have to draw the line somewhere. Like if I end up, like I could buy vinyls for basically everything. If I, like I'm desperate to, so I have to be careful. Crit chance is good.
What the hell was that? Oh, it's nothing. Just a bug. Forget it.
Really is. Just set up a playlist. Maybe set up a queue. You pause and play when you need to. Super easy. Love Spotify. I think my life would be so much different without Spotify. Truly.
There's
Playing
no question.
So much.
Yeah, that it's just become the go-to, isn't it? Yeah.
I've got coin to spend. Take it for a spin and bring me back something shiny.
Got to share that Spotify Premium family account, haven't you? Make sure you don't get adverts.
Yeah. Although they put the price up recently again.
Oh.
It was a while ago now, but they've put it up now 3 times in the past 2 years.
Man, everything's going up. Maximum stamina bonus.
Everything except my salary. That's it, isn't it? Music's just super important for emotion. Anything.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right, Jim Bob. I know that Johnny, if he had more time, he'd love to, for Arian Well, he'd love to engineer sort of his own music for it and drop them in. And maybe eventually we'll do that and we won't need the reliance on Sirenscape, which is really suitable and great for the moment. But there is something about like curating exactly the right piece of sad music. Even like we had some music on, didn't we, when Sixsmith was investigating the downed Manticore, and for or whatever it was, Chimera Core,
You think Regis is gonna
um,
break me soon? It's
or
just that
Mantera,
I'm waiting here.
and it was
you know?
yeah. That's the thing. It's copyright. You're right. You're right. So we've got to use Sirenscape, even though man, yeah, it's sticking on like one of the Skellige tunes, right? Like from the there's one that it's not even on the official soundtrack. You have to go sort of to the deluxe or extended soundtrack. I'm sure you guys know. There's like, but it's one of the sort of I think it's just the roaming around Skellige song from Witcher, and you just sort of walk around Skellige, and it's just got that.
Should I take this for my
See, mine's Brookback Bog.
I can't.
And they're my favourite songs are with Three Witches and Brookback Bog. But the
Ah,
whole
see,
soundtrack for that area is so good.
I don't remember that, but I imagine, knowing you, it's quite grimdark, and it sounds like it is.
No.
I think it's quite... Oh, is it not?
It's quite hard
Was
to
it
explain actually. It's a lot of like almost chorus.
Oh, okay. Choral, like
Choral,
pieces.
thank you. Yeah, it's a lot of almost choral singing.
Regis a short while.
Quite a lot of female vocals.
So what's the whole thing? I'm gonna add it to my list. It's the
But it is, I suppose, in a way, a bit spooky. Yeah, but like the whole Witcher soundtrack, a lot of it is quite spooky. So yeah, tavern music's fantastic, along with the Gwent music as well.
Oh man, I've heard that Gwent music on loop so much.
Yeah, I hear it on Critical Role all the time as well because they have license to use it.
Oh, do they?
What are you
Yeah, they have license to use all the Witcher music. You hear it quite a
that
lot.
map of yours and let me send you there?
I still think that the best soundtrack I've got on
Ever smell
vinyl at the moment though is that
that stink
Uh,
never washes out.
Paradise Killer. Still maintain that is one of the best video game soundtracks I've ever heard.
Paradise Killer is a great one. Yeah, I have that on vinyl, and I'll just stick it on when people are around, and they'll sort of. It's just great background music, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's not your usual sort of background music because it's that sort of a weird, almost 80s
Sitting over here
Sort of synth wave,
pop.
sort of.
It's
Yeah.
pop synthwave music. Yeah.
Oh, I'm getting some loot here.
What are you waiting around for? Pick a spot on that map of yours and let me send you there. Whatever you need, Caddy Bree.
So yeah, we're open to suggestions on what game maybe we can do next. We don't mind sort of doing like a deep dive, doing like a classic. We don't mind doing a recent release, like something like this. We don't mind doing something that's maybe a bit more niche, maybe a bit more, maybe lesser known. Now at least we know how to hear both of us, so that's good.
Yeah. Took us a little while.
I know for a fact that if we can get the four of us together, let's say we're down, we don't have Christina, we don't have Johnny, I definitely think a little bit of Divinity Original Sin 2 is in order.
Oh yeah, for sure. We need to remember where we were. I have a rough inkling of where we were, but that's only because I've played the entire game, I think.
Yeah, you're like our guide, aren't you? Through that, basically.
Because I know we've left the Fort Island and now the first town. Should be searching for someone to teach us about the source, I think.
Mm.
There's quite a few different options. I'm not going to steer you towards any of them. just always one moment that sticks out in my mind, where a bit of combat turns into an absolute mess.
That's most
Very,
of
very
the
fun.
fights we've had in Divinity, isn't it?
I haven't seen anything yet. It gets really bad in one of the fights.
Well, that'll be exciting.
And I'm sure if Jim Bob has played the game, then he'll know exactly what fight I'm talking about.
Well, he's saying, have we got Baldur's Gate? Yeah, we have got Baldur's Gate. I've got Baldur's Gate on the PlayStation anyway, and I think you can get it pretty cheap. I don't know if you can play online with the Baldur's Gate on the PlayStation. I don't
know about the original ones. I got the third one on PC. Well, which is good fun. It's just they've only got the first act in the game at the moment. But yeah, it plays very similarly to Divinity, but obviously with 5e rules slowly making changes. They put out a patch recently actually saying, based on community feedback, here's a bunch of stuff that we're going to do.
Oh, that's good. I see. This is nice. The ability to use the skins, like, was something I you have to pay for it, which is a bit cheeky. I sort of like the way they did it in Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Allowed you to reskin any of your weapons to any of the other weapons that you had on you. Jim Bob saying he's got Divinity Sin 2. Yeah, the thing about Divinity Sin 2 is, I mean, Brad obviously is recommending that you play it, that I play it anyway, regardless of, like, play it on my own. But I reckon if you can get 3 other people together to play it, it just explodes, basically, doesn't it? It's like such a unique game to play with 4 players. It's just chaotic. Right, so I think that can... What do you think, Brad? I think that can conclude our foray into Blood and Pixels.
I mean, staying on the Divinity 2 stuff, you can even only play as 2 people. You either control 2 characters each, or you do a lone wolf. Do what's called a lone wolf build. Just take a perk called Lone Wolf, and it increases all your stats, but you can only have 2 people in the party.
Oh, see, that's pretty interesting if I wanted to just crack on by myself.
Yeah, so it is a little bit harder. If you're going to do Lone Wolf, I'd recommend following a guide.
Right, okay. Yeah, you're our guide, Brad, aren't you, basically? Yeah.
Yeah, but that's for the game, not for the builds.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Oh, you mean a build guide? Yeah, sure.
Yeah, like a build guide for Lone Wolf stuff. Because it's quite complicated.
Yeah.
A lot of interactions, because you get so much more skills. That's not English.
Well, as we expand this series, and we'll drop it in at the right times. We'll try and figure out if we can do it more regularly with different kinds of games. We'll try and get it set up on the in a way that you can maybe see our cameras, see us, see both of our screens, and a couple of other things. We just got to get the tech right, basically. But hopefully you enjoyed it, Jim Bob, and anyone else that dropped in. Even though you weren't chatting. I hope you enjoyed this as a slightly different thing. Sorry we couldn't bring you in an Arianwell game today, but variety is the spice of life, and a change is as good as a rest, and all that other stuff. So next week we have an exclusive one-shot game for everybody, including Christine, Bradley, Ryan, and myself. We're not going to replace this with Blood and Song, but we'd love some suggestions and for games to play, and we think also I hope you enjoyed it. Jim Bob, it was nice to get to know you a bit more now that we were able to chat.
Yeah, it was nice to have a chat.
Definitely, and we're hoping this would be a good chance to do like some more Q&As with people that sort of also off on their own adventures, like you, Jim Bob, and doing their own games and their own sort of tabletop adventures and game adventures and other sorts of things. So yeah, thanks for joining us, Jim Bob, and anyone else. Really appreciate it, mate. Yeah, take care of yourself, bud, and we'll see
Yeah,
everybody
take care.
back on Monday for an exclusive one-shot. So we will be playing. We'll have our cams up. We'll be doing our usual thing, but with a slightly different. Unlike Becky's one-shot, which was pre-recorded and had a lot of work put into it, this will be a nice, beautiful, messy one-shot. With all the adults are gone, aren't they? No Dan, no Johnny. all the bigger boys have gone, and it will just be us careening through a one shot. So yeah, thanks everyone, and we'll see you next time.